All right, everybody. Mortgage Ballers back again, and you ain't going to believe it. We finally got him. There he is in person, the legend, the man. He walks on water, they say. I haven't seen that, but Mr. Matt Hardy, he was number three, barely, but I think he almost tied out of 400 loan originators in 2023. If you don't understand the mathematics on that, that means he was doing loans and taking names, and he wasn't letting anything stop him. Matt, I know you're always busy, but thank you for taking the time today. I think a lot of people need to hear from top originators to know somebody they can relate to. And I think you have an incredible story. I think you have an incredible platform with your team. And I think they're going to hear some really cool things today as we're starting to get into some of the team people. And when I say team, I want to make sure you understand Matt was number three because he closed personal loans, but he also had the time to mentor other people. And he believes in a team concept where people are helping each other. I don't want to talk too much. I want it to come from you, but thank you for joining me today. Man, how are you doing?
Well, thank you for having me on. I'm excited. Yeah, things are going well. Staying busy, which is good right now in the mortgage industry. And
And what state, where are you out of? Where do you live? And what states are you licensed in?
yeah, so licensed in California and Colorado, but I live in Boulder, Colorado,
Okay.
and been
All
here for
right.
the last 21 years now.
I find it interesting. We're hearing more and more about people who are licensed in multiple states, but yet they live in one.
Mhm.
How do you get business outside of your state?
I have financial advisors that have a couple of them that have moved from California. It
Okay.
was kind of just like by chance. A lot of times I meet these people biking or something like that. But financial advisor moved from California. Most of their book is there, but they live here. And during the refinance boom, they needed help with refinancing clients, and so I got licensed in California for that.
Sure.
And it was just like it just kind of happened organically in that sense because they had a need, and I was like, well, give me a few weeks, and I'll go get licensed. It
Well,
worked
that
out.
worked out good. So you've quickly learned that you're not isolated to a geographical area, especially not just a city like Boulder, not
Hmm.
just a state like Colorado, but here you are. I mean, Colorado, last check geographically, doesn't touch California. So
No.
therefore, you went specifically where you knew business would be, which is incredible. You do a high amount of business. Your average loan amounts are very high compared to a lot of our loan originators,
Yeah.
probably because the markets that you're in, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Um, that means you're snowed in half the year and able to work from home. No, I'm
Yeah.
kidding. But I want to hear a day in the life. 'Cause I think a lot of people don't really understand the commitment that it takes to be a top originator, top producer,
Yeah.
not just one time, but year in, year out, year in and year out. And
Yeah.
you're always doing it. Matter of fact, when you came to us, I was like, wow, that I feel very blessed when I get somebody of that caliber that says, hey, expert would be a good fit for me. I'm like, man, I know some good originators, but I started to realize there's a lot of great originators out there in these states.
Hmm.
And I'm just very blessed in the sense that I get people like you that make us look fantastic, that find value in the platform. So I'm excited. But take us through a day. Like, what does a day look like in your life?
Yeah. Well, it's a good question. I mean, so like I think an average day is like a school day for my kids or something like that.
Okay.
So we wake up at 7. I have the kids out the house at like 7:20, 7:25 for school. And so I'm working at 7:30 basically every day. Um, and I love that because it's typically a little bit before most people are working. So I can kind of clean up a lot of things from the day
Yeah.
before, get a lot of emails out, um, and kind of just like feel ready for the day. And I do that to about 9:30. And then from 9:30, I'll usually go for a bike ride or workout. I try to always like do it every single day, like have an hour and a half to go and do something for me. It's enough time that I have a good time, get a good workout in. If someone leaves me a voicemail, I can always get back to them. And
Hmm.
if they left me a voicemail on minute one, I get back to them right when I get back. It's an hour and a half, so it's
Sure.
never really like you're being that distant from someone. Um, and then once I get back, I'll usually field phone calls, and then I'll have my meetings from typically 1 o'clock to 3 p.m.
Sure.
Um, my kids get home at 3, and then that's kind of where things start to kind of wobble a little bit. Um, and I'm usually back working again from about 3:30 to 5 is a typical day. And that would be like a typical like working day.
Hmm.
And then I try to maybe like once or twice a week do like a prospect day where I try to like bang out lunches and coffees and things like that with realtors or financial advisors or whoever it is that I'm meeting. But I try to have it like pretty segmented. That way, it's I know I have a full day every single day.
Okay. Do you have like a calendar that you load up, or you just know it's just all in the day? You hit it, you go, and you
Yeah,
just start contacting those realtors, and they're just used to you like, oh, here's Dave calling me. I mean, Matt calling me.
yeah,
Um, and it's that's why I am with my realtors.
yeah,
They know that I'm 3 hours ahead. Most of my realtors are in California,
yeah,
and that's where my clientele is because I do a lot of investors. But now those investors are excited because here I am across the United States, and I can show them values. And if I need to drive over and see a property in Alabama or southern Georgia or up in Tennessee, they have boots on the ground. But now I have loan originators. I'm like, hey, Dave, could you go over there in Texas and look at this real quick? I
yeah,
got Texas is huge, by the way,
yeah,
and
yeah,
so I've got multiple people there. I've got Brian Pitts up in Tennessee, and I'm like, hey, Brian, will you go look at this property for me and tell me what you think? Because they're like you. If I asked you something I could trust, if you're like, Rich, that's a great property for Boulder. Nope,
yeah, yeah,
don't even go anywhere near that.
yeah,
And then we can reach out to the realtors and do stuff. But I'm enjoying the 3 hour time difference over California. I get a lot done those first 3 hours,
yeah,
but I'm also enjoying the ability to see the other side of the United States. I did 55 years in California, and the last 2.5 years have been incredible just to really live the other side of the United States. And I'm amazed at the people like you that I've met through making this journey and doing this journey. A lot of firsts for me,
hmm
but I'm glad to know that my ideas are always this big, step one, and then I meet incredible people who take those ideas and just absolutely take them places I never thought they could go. And um, that's one of the people you are. For example, I've
awesome.
always been individual to this industry, meaning I hire individual loan officers.
hmm
Um, I didn't really have team concepts at my last company, Answer Home Loans. Although some people would make teams, but I'm talking teams where loan officer teams.
Yeah,
I know that you have a very successful team. Matter of fact, you guys are always partying on Facebook, TikTok. I'm like, good Lord, here they go again. Ski party at Matt's. I'm like, come on. Talk to me about that because
yeah,
I'm starting to think that that is probably one of the biggest keys to success because your team is successful
hmm
as individuals, but also the strength of that team is incredible. It's one of the strongest teams we have,
yeah,
but you lead that. There's a vision there. So talk to me about that.
yeah. I mean, there was a couple things on it, and it kind of came about in a roundabout way. I think to a certain degree, I knew a lot of people whenever I came over here to Expert. Um, I I was kind of immediately blown away by the platform. It was exactly what I was wanting. It's what I've always wanted in my entire career. I didn't even know that that's what I needed or wanted. And
Sure.
once I had it, I was like, oh, this is great. I need to share this with these people. But I also realized that it means that you have to be a structured person in order for it to work out. If you're someone that wants to just sit in the bank and wait for a customer to come by, it's probably not the best in that sense because that's not how it works. But
Sure.
I know that we're all stronger as a team, and I don't know everything, and nor should I. And neither does the other person, you know? So
Right.
we kind of thought of it as like almost like a co-op in a way of how is it that we can kind of create a really strong team where everyone's pitching in their own knowledge to get deals done for everyone. And there's enough people on the team that the answer gets answered really quickly and efficiently by someone. Um, that's number one. And then the other piece of it is that people just want to feel like they're a part of something, you know, myself included. And so it's fun to have the happy hours, and it's fun to like go skiing with other people. And, you know, unfortunately, everything probably eventually boils down to mortgages. You're on the ski lift, you're talking mortgages, and you're like, why am I doing this? But it's what we do all the time.
Sure.
And, you know, I guess there's worse places to have mortgage conversations. But ultimately, I think people want to feel like they're connected to a team and connected to strong people. And it's been something that's been really fun for me, and more fun than I even thought it was going to be, seeing people's success and seeing, hey, you know what, you can actually take that loan because I've done that before in the past, and this is how I did it. And if you do this, you'll win that loan, you know, or
Mhm.
you'll close the loan or whatever it is. I mean, that's a one-off thing, but that's pretty big, you know, if you can use that and if someone can get that information really fast. So,
Well, and I see you'll answer questions on the closed Facebook group, which
yeah,
helps the other 470 plus people.
yeah,
But there's two things I like about it. One thing I
yeah,
don't. The one thing that's changed over the years is because of that readily available high end, you got top producers. The other day, someone asked a FHA question, and three of our top producers that do FHA, I mean, when I say there's three, these three ladies are probably in the top 150 loan originators in the nation. And
wow,
they all three answered this question simultaneously. And I thought, well, don't get much stronger than that.
yeah,
And I'm not sure that the loan officer really understood. So I said something about that. And I
yeah,
was like, because I was blown away. I didn't have that. But those three people I know are very guideline heavy. They
yeah.
know their products. Like Dorita Ivy, she knows FHA inside and out. She used to be an underwriter,
Oh, wow.
and she knows what she can and can't do and where she can push it and not push it. And she'll be one of our interviews. But you know, if you have an FHA question and Dorita answers it, you could take it to the bank. And
Yeah,
I'm
that's huge.
amazed. Yeah, I'm amazed. And you guys are doing that both individually, but I see some of you guys on the main group too. But
Yeah,
to have that trust where you could, I mean, I'm sure you guys are the same way, but it's like, hey, before you give up on that deal, make sure you tell the group about it,
yeah,
because that is a lot of years of experience of
yeah,
strong originators. And to think that you would ever let a deal out the door before the group has a chance to weigh in on it. And
yeah,
that's when you start thinking outside the box. Well, you know what? Have you ever thought about doing this, or this? And that's where the education level and strength of that group, I think, really goes up. What's the name of your group, by the way?
that's Greenlight Mortgage Group.
Right on. So you brand in your own name. Didn't want to go with expert. I get it, but I'm that's one of the
No,
things that we do, and it's never been about branding our name. Where did you come from, Dave? Before you came, or I got Dave Blismer on my mind here.
I
Sorry,
know.
I know you know
And
Dave.
Dave is actually a mentor of mine, so I
Well,
know
and
Dave
that's
very well.
he. I'm talking about guidelines because he knows them like the back of his
Oh
hands
yeah,
too. And we
yep.
were talking about that. Um, I love Dave. Is he at younger? He's a Boulder too, isn't he?
No, he's more down south, so he's down more like between Denver and Colorado Springs in Castle
Okay,
County.
then I saw him at the Denver event. Okay, I knew he was
Yeah,
Colorado. All right,
yep.
but where were you at before you came here?
So I was at a company called 8Z Mortgage,
Oh, that's
and
right.
yeah, you know, it's a good company, and it was tied to a kind of your classic, uh, independent mortgage bank is what it was tied to, which was called Cherry
Okay,
Creek Mortgage at the
that's
time.
I remember that now. Okay,
Yeah, and
so direct lender though, but you had options for brokering.
We did not for a number of the years that I was there, and then we brought it on in 2019.
Okay.
And yeah, so it's kind of different in that sense. And it wasn't until you like looked at the interest rates and you're like, oh wow, this is a lot better. And you get the story told to you. Oh, I don't know, don't go there. Who knows? Um, and I went there, and I had a great
Right.
experience. Um, and I was like, well, do that again. Client was happy, I was happy. We didn't have all the conditions that we typically would have. It was a smooth process. So I started doing that over and over again. You learn more and more about the broker world. And then all of a sudden you're like, well, I prefer this than over direct lending all day. And I would
Right.
go out to lunch or dinner with people that were at the parent company and they just didn't believe it. And I was like, look, 2020, I closed 175 loans or 200 loans or whatever it was, like 75 million. And I was like, 75% of this was brokered, you know? And then 2022, I did the same thing. So you kind of just get it down and then you just prefer it after that.
Right.
And I haven't looked back since.
I look at that, Matt, and I go, I tried to go to the direct lender side. I was working on my house, but I was doing probably 8 deals a month, which for the broker world, that's pretty good.
Mhm.
I was happy. I was just me working out of a home office just right before I started my last company. And the guy who eventually became my partner, Dan Maybaum, he was working for a direct lender, and they said, "Oh, we need a branch manager." So I'd have to, if I wanted it, I'd have to drive like an hour north.
Mm.
I would run an office of 5 to 6 people, and I'm thinking, okay, what's the pay on that? And
Yeah.
I looked at the pay, and then I was looking at the rates comparison. I'm like, they're like, Rich, it's a great deal, man. We're knocking it out of the park for you because we really want you. And I thought, I make that on my first 2 loans.
Yeah.
And it's just me. I have no one to answer to, but now I'm going to
Yeah.
work for somebody. And I'm like, where does all that other money go? And I already knew that, but I have never been on the direct lending world except for a short time with Bank of America.
Yeah.
Um, and that I wouldn't even call that a direct lender like I would some of these others like PRMG that are specifically direct lenders.
Yeah.
Um, there's a bank in your area. I think it's called North Point Bank, or at least it's over in Colorado Springs. But
Hmm.
we were doing some comparison of rates with them at one time, and they were 1% higher in rate at
Yeah.
into 2022.
Yeah.
But they still did a lot of business, and that's when my mind I said, I get that everybody's supposed to go get 3 possibilities, but
Yeah.
they trust their realtor. The realtor says you should talk to my person. They get it done. But if we're being honest here, Matt, I'm realizing that 70% of the business is still done by direct lenders.
I know. I
30% by brokers. So people are okay with going to the first person,
Yeah.
and they honestly don't know the difference. And I'm thinking that's our people are complaining about the rates in general. So what are you saying about that? I mean, you have a lot of new builds that connect with those kind of atmospheres, and
Yep.
I'm just amazed that 70% of the business. I mean, Guild closes a ton of business.
Yeah.
Um, at one time, I think it got up to almost 50% before the 2008 crash. But that's the biggest I've seen it. It's made up ground a lot,
Yeah.
but it'll be interesting to see where we go from here after all this weirdness. This is going to be an interesting year, very
Hmm.
pivotable, um, for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see how it all works out, but I'm interested to see where values go, rates go, bonds go, all the whole
Yeah.
9 yards. Um, but I do know this: the business model that I changed to after that 2008 crash was I go after purchase business.
Yep.
I saw that no matter what, and unfortunately, at somebody's hardship to lose a house becomes somebody's opportunity to gain a house, and it's a transfer of wealth, but they're the refinances can go away, but there's always that transfer of wealth
Yeah.
going, and purchases are always available. And then you add in multiple markets, and you can follow your customers if they need to move out of state or things like that.
Yeah.
And that to me is a big deal. When you have the trust, your customers love you. And now they're like, hey, my job's changing. They're going to move me over to Tennessee. Not a problem. Still
Sure.
help you, you know?
Exactly.
And I think I like that model better. Your customers can still have that trust, which I like. So,
Yeah. No, I think it's great. I think that's what's so unique about it is that you have the ability to do that across different states and help your clients out that way.
yeah.
Because that's ultimately what they want. They've worked with you in the past, they trust you in that sense. And so, why throw a wrench in it? Oh, we're not licensed in that. Well, you guys got licensed in what, 46 states now, 47?
44 or 46. I lose track.
Yeah. So just about every single state that's out there in terms of an opportunity. So, um, you the way I look at it is that you can't say, "Oh, I lost a deal because they moved out of state." "Oh, I lost a deal because the rate's not good." Well, no, our rates are amazing because we're a broker and you have the ability to do
Right.
that. "Oh, I lost a deal for this rate." You don't have any more of those excuses anymore. So the way I talk to my team about it is like it may not seem like a whole lot of opportunity, but if you do 4 deals that were out of state, that's 4 extra deals that you didn't have before. You know, you won another 8 deals because of pricing. Well, now we're at the 12 deals that you would have not won. And you add
Yeah.
on all the other stuff. And I always think of it like a piece of pie. If you can capture all of it, you might be talking about 20 different deals that all of a sudden you can do that you wouldn't have been able to do at an independent mortgage bank.
How
Plus, we're
does
getting
that
paid.
your LOPP points or your control your price points, because you do a lot of loans,
Yeah.
but how does that benefit you and your team? How do you guys use those to your advantage?
Yeah. I have like a limit of where I want to put them. And so I always put 20 on a loan if the loan's over like 400K, basically.
Mhm.
And then as things are getting closer to closing, I'll take a look to see if I want to put another 20 on it or hold off on it and not put anything else on it after, before it closes. Obviously,
Okay.
trying to lean towards the larger loans that you want to put on the LOPP or the CYP points just for
Did it throw you
efficiency.
off having a broker that has two channels, broker and core? Or was it
Oh,
confusing for you, or do you?
no,
It seems like it's worked good for you to
oh, it's
have those
great
options.
because, yeah, because you have tons of different options. I mean, UWM does a lot of loans. I mean, that's what's
Yeah,
actually
they
so
do.
amazing about them is that you can do new construction with them, like literally building a house. You can do non QM, which is great. And you can do all that on the core line. Obviously, you can do FHA, conventional, all that stuff. But the ability to go and knock out probably 90% of the loans that are in the market is great. But that being said, I just did a loan that was a stated income loan, you
Mhm.
know, and I had to broker that one out. And I had a great experience with it. And we closed the deal. The client was happy. The agent was happy.
It's
Um,
okay. Where'd you go with it?
I went to change lending with that one.
Yep, it's okay. Say it. Change
Yeah.
has done very well for us. We're actually
Yeah.
going to get them on here.
Well, and Mike over there is someone that follows through. And
Yes,
I
he
think
does.
that is the biggest thing when we're talking to AEs and when you're talking to people is who are the account executives that follow through. You know, we have Hayden over at UWM. I contribute a lot of my success to him,
Right.
because he's not a yes man. He actually gets the work done, moves things forward, and to have the ability, if it's not falling into that box and going somewhere else, that is huge. And I don't know why other companies haven't looked into this or done more of it. I don't know why my old company that I spent 7 years there
Wow.
didn't want to look just a little bit outside the box for those. Because if you think of it as a pie, like I said, there's going to be loans that we could have captured that instead went to someone else, and you'll probably never see them ever again, you know?
Right.
And so why not have the ability to do all of them? We can't do every single loan ever that's out there, but they're damn well close, you know?
The AEs, there's some AEs. You talked about Mike at Change, Hayden. You know, there's a couple of them out there that I've had relationships for a long time. That's one of the reasons why we have them, because I originate too,
Yeah.
and there's people when I'm doing purchases. I need to know I have the right answers. I trust them.
Yeah.
I don't chase a rate on a given day at the top of Loan Sifter. It's cool if you do, that's just not my style. I'll refinance them later. My goal is to get it done, and I don't always do cookie cutter loans. And there's some lenders that are better for those types of transactions.
Mm-hmm.
Um, DSCR was a blessing for me because I got sick of guys with all these properties, but yet they're free and clear, so they can still qualify for Fannie Mae. And here we're going to go
Yeah.
do all the calculations. It's like, cool, DSCR,
Yep.
it's a 0.5% higher, but I don't want any of that stuff. And they're like,
Yep.
wow, my best investor, he's 86 years old, and he gets me the information. I just keep it updated all the time for him.
Yeah.
But he's constantly doing 1031 exchanges, things like that to move
Yep.
money. I think he gets bored. And so he's always looking and moving. And it's kept me sharp over the
Yeah.
years. But where it's hurt is some of my processors like, ooh, I don't want Bill's loan. And I'm just like, you have to take the hard with the easy. I don't know what it's like just to get one pay stub and no appraisal and no assets needed. I don't get those kind of loans,
Yeah.
but I've learned more from that person, and I'll take those loans all day because I became a better investor and buyer of properties
Yeah.
for having these conversations. Here's the best part. The guy drives an old beat up truck. You wouldn't know he's worth probably close to $80 million.
Wow.
He lives in California. He's 85, 86, and he just doesn't fit the mold, but he's probably one of the smartest people I've ever met. And to go have whenever he comes down, we don't talk like that. We go to a place and have breakfast,
Yeah.
and he just tells me the stories,
Yeah.
and I just suck it up because it's hard to find mentors in that classification that will
Yeah.
just instill. And he loves talking about it, and I've learned so much from him. But we all have those kind of people, but people that make us better at what we do.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
even though you're a top originator, who's one of your mentors? Who do you talk to when you have a
Yeah.
tough loan or have a bad day in the business?
Well, I got a couple. I've got two. I'm just really lucky to have them. Really great friends outside of the business. One's a restaurateur. One's in manufacturing.
Uh-huh.
Both of them own their own business, and are honestly probably the people that made me want so badly to be self-employed.
Okay.
Um, and so, we go on bike rides and we surf and all these things together. And, it's not mortgages, but I get to learn from successful people and
Yep.
hopefully share a little bit of, what I've learned in terms of my success, and hopefully can share that with someone else down the road too.
Yep.
But I like talking about mentors. It's really needed. And I hope everyone has one out there. If you don't, I'd say go and search and try and get one. Just because we don't know everything, and neither will we ever. And so it's always great to have another perspective. Um, and seeing people that are successful makes you want to work harder then too, you know? So,
They show you it's possible. I don't have too many friends that just walked into big dollars. I have a lot of friends I grew up with that went on to do really good things through the school of hard knocks and hard work, things like that.
yeah.
I have one friend who lives in Las Vegas. He he got into online poker when it first came out,
Oh,
and he'd
wow.
do these huge tournaments, and he ended up winning a couple of them. And so now he's into race horses, wine. He lives a very lifestyle of the rich and famous. It's funny because we grew up without a whole lot,
Yeah.
and I know where he came from, but to see that success for him, I couldn't be happier for him. But he did it a completely different way. I don't know how to play poker to save my life, but he obviously could hold on to that. How many people are in your group?
We have, I think 14 now.
Wow, that's a big group.
Yeah, it's getting there, and everyone has their strengths, has their weaknesses, um, but everyone's aware of them. I'd say,
Sure.
which is good. And yeah, we're just going to continue to grow. I hope, I think it's going to get bigger and bigger. I have plans all the way down the Front Range in Colorado.
I had the pleasure of giving Matt a call when the top people came out because one of our top originators was also Megan Lamorato.
Yep.
If I say that, I always say it wrong,
No,
but
you nailed it.
Megan, I think she's only been a broker for like 5 years or in loans for 5 years or something, but she's part
Yeah.
of your team, and she was actually one of our top 20 for 2023. And you know, she talks about your mentorship and things in your group and how it's helped her. You have a lot of successful people on your group, actually,
Yeah.
including yourself, because obviously you're number 3 overall. I mean, we're talking about 400 originators. Now we're at like 471. I think we'll be at
Yeah.
500 by the end of next month, but which is crazy. Um, if somebody, I always want to say this right because I know you go 100 miles an hour,
Hmm.
but people are going to hear about teams. They're going to hear about your success. They're going to say, I want to know more about that. Like, what is that? What do you mean you get to brand your own name and you guys get to talk? I'd remind people that there are no borders in loans as long as you have a camera like this sitting on your computer. And it's
Yeah.
called Zoom or things like that. Google Meet. You could be anywhere in the United States and you could still be on Matt's team.
Yeah.
That's not that you need to do that, but I'm trying to explain that teams should not be geographically labored in any way, shape, or form by state lines or distances. You could be anywhere and be part of an incredible team. And that's what Matt's put together here. And he's one of our most successful teams if I were to measure volume and closing, things like that. Um, and how the strength that they do. They also hold events. They're always eating and showing off, that they live. I live in Boulder. I guess I have to get used to that. I'm in Georgia. No snow here.
Boulder's
But
Boulder.
if somebody said, man, I want to know more about that. I've never done a team concept. I could use a mentor.
Hmm.
I want more success and I seem to be maxed out and I don't know why. Somebody I could bounce loans off, somebody that can take me from where I'm at now because I know I like the industry and I want more. Someone like Megan.
Yeah.
And, I told Megan the same thing. And she's like, gosh, I never thought of teaching other people. I just try and figure it out for myself. But I'm like,
Yeah.
but you figured out, and she thinks outside the box and the type of meetings she told me I go walking dogs with my realtors. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm part of the Golden Club or something.
Yeah.
um, I mean, that's thinking outside the box, but what would you say to someone that had interest in that? Is that okay if somebody wanted to reach out to you?
Oh
How do you
yeah.
feel about that?
Oh, I love it. I mean, again, it's another contact in the mortgage world, which I'll always take. It's another
Sure.
perspective. Sometimes we all get, just we have blinders on, and so I think that's really helpful. I just kind of generally like to help people in the mortgage industry because we we are kept from so much stuff,
Sure.
and they do it on purpose, and you don't want to know too much stuff behind the scenes. But once you find it behind the scenes, you're like, wow, there's a lot of money there. And then a lot of times you find out what's holding people back is probably a lot of times that team. They want
Sure.
to feel like they're a part of something. So I'm always willing to talk to someone and either help them or mentor them. I'm always excited for that because it might mean that our team grows. It might mean that I just met someone in another state that can share more information with me and another perspective. So I'm always up for it.
I would challenge people if you're part of a team, but your team is stagnating.
Yeah.
Well, it's okay to become bigger teams
Hmm.
and things out there. Um, Matt, what's your idea? There's a huge gap of younger people coming into the industry.
Yeah.
Um, it's just probably because of the way the business is, and we have these feast or famine years like we do now. Um, what advice would you give to somebody who's like, you know what? I've always heard of real estate. I watch the real estate shows on TV and
Yeah.
the loan, they're all making such good money. And it's like, I hate when they portray everything like that,
Yeah.
cutthroat. Cause then I don't find that to be true. I find that there's more camaraderie within things than there is the cutthroat side, especially with all the people who've left the industry in
Yep.
the last 2 years, because this is the next wave after the 2008 crash. People are just giving up. And,
Yeah.
but what advice would you give somebody who's younger saying, you know what, I've thought about doing that. Is there a place for something like that in this platform, in this world, in your, under your guidance? I
Hmm.
mean, or do you just like, no, they should go somewhere else? Or what are your thoughts?
All right. It's a good point. I mean, I think everything comes down to if someone's going to be hungry or not. And I
Okay.
think, it's the same, like, you're a baseball player. I always look at it from like a sports perspective is that if you're here, if you're going to show up, if you're going to do double practices or double workouts and you're going to do all those things, there is a place for you. If you're thinking this is going to be um, easy, it is very much not. And I think that, in my mind, is the thing that everyone needs to kind of look inside of. Hey, if I'm going to go down this road, am I willing to put the work into it? And if
Okay.
someone is, I'd be very happy that for them to join our team. Um, and not to go into it, those are few and far between, but when you're talking about the stuff on TV and things like that, those are the people that have already made it. They don't go
Sure.
and show you the behind the scenes. Just like a Michael Jordan or something like that. Those guys are spending endless hours in the gym, and all you do is see them for an hour and a half on the court, but you don't see what's behind the scenes. It's kind of the same within our business.
Very
It's
true.
not easy at all.
Both my sons came into the industry. My son Justin's been with me for about 5 years now. My son Jordan now for about 3 years. Jordan loves doing VA loans. Well, they both do.
Yeah,
Jordan coming out of the Air Force Academy. A lot of his friends are getting to that point where they're starting to separate. Very, very honored that we do as many VA loans that we do. I know that
yeah,
the Colorado Springs area is a huge VA area, but that was one of the things when I talked to Jordan about coming on. I'm like, I I didn't come from that environment. He was the first one in our family to go that route.
yeah,
They talk in acronyms and things
yeah,
like that. But I remember my son. I was I was terrified because a lot they were talking about they would be what's it called, deployed.
yeah,
Coming out of the academy, and I was fearful of that. But I remember he said something. Um, and this leads into VAs, but he said something to me, and he doesn't know, but I heard him, and I just always internalized it. But he said, I'm like, are you? Does that scare you at all or anything? Because I was like,
yeah,
man, it scares the hell out of me as a dad.
yeah,
But he said, what are you talking about, man? It's the most honoring thing that I could ever do to go on behalf of my friends and my family and to fight that war to keep it off our shores. And I was like, wow, that's pretty good for a kid coming out of college, but to me, he's
yeah,
just a young kid. But it when we did expert, I was like, all right, I want 25% or more. I want V. I want to put people. It's the craziest type of loan, but I am amazed. People who understand VA, they can really get a lot of people into houses and how it works
yeah,
and things like that. Um, As a matter of fact, I think VA, we're going to find out here pretty quick on July 1st, but they're one of the few that have jumped out really quick to say we're going to make sure that people can still pay a cost for a buyer's agent and
yeah,
things like that, not hurt the veteran.
yeah,
Um, I saw these kids, and believe it or not, he's had a few friends that have passed already, and these are
yeah,
kids.
yeah,
They put kids in $800 million planes because they're just the
yeah,
best at it, and things happen, and I'm just like, I love that the company has made a statement. We now have a program from your area, by the way, that people that are separating can actually be paid for 6 months from the Air Force while they're separating and learn our industry if they want.
Oh
then they're
wow.
still getting paid by Air Force.
Yeah.
And he put that in the implemented that. Evan Kaufman uses that.
Oh wow.
We're gonna hear about that a little bit more, but I love when you guys think outside the box. These are things I never thought of as a broker. And you guys test me every day to say, Rich, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? And I'm like, well, I don't know. Are the auditors going to like that? But
Yeah.
we'll find out. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But the one thing you guys have done for me, Matt, is you've challenged me to push the broker envelope as far as I possibly can. And then
Yeah.
the auditors and states will tell me when I need to roll it back
Yeah.
using branded names, paying 1099 states, W2 states,
Yeah.
pushing VA limits to a 78% DTI if it's approved,
Yeah.
get people in homes and make the American dream happen. You guys do mainly purchases. Sure, you'll take refis, but
Yeah.
month after month, you guys are putting people into homes. And I love that. I just can't say thank you enough for all your team's doing, all that you do. Um, that's what it's about for me at
Yeah.
this point in time. Um, that's what gets me excited is when at the end of the month, I see 451 closings and 432 of them were purchases, people walking into or purchasing a home.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, yeah, I like doing refis. They're good, but man, some of those are first time home buyers and they got to walk into their house for the first time, play in their backyard for the first time, eat dinner at their house the first time. And every one of them has their own story. And you guys are on the front line every day and you learn those stories and you make it happen. And
No.
somebody like you make it happen many times a month and very consistently. I mean, you have a gift and it really is a gift. It's not by chance. Otherwise, it would just be up and down. But you do it consistently, and the fact that you have a team green light that you press that into them and they can see it. You don't just talk. You walk the walk, and
Yeah.
then you got Megan who's having a great year, and she brings your name up, and I'm like, man, I love it. I love it. So
I
I
think it's
can't say
amazing,
thank
and I
you
think
enough, man.
well, and I appreciate it. I can't thank you enough because I still remember like the day that I was on my recruiting call with you, and I was texting Dave Bleesmer. We were both on at the same time, and I was texting
Yep,
him
Dave
during
was
the
part of
call, and
that.
I was like, "I'm going to do this. I can't be an independent mortgage bank anymore." And going back to like what you said, it means that I think on average, I'm closing my, if I wasn't here, I think I'd have 3 less closings a month. Is my thought.
Wow.
And to think about that from a whole entire year, that's 36. And that means that's 36 people that did not get into a home or that
Mhm.
I didn't have an opportunity to touch,
Right.
and in a way it's almost like a disservice then at the other companies if you think about it.
I try
You
not to
should
think
have
about
more
that way
time.
because I get mad, but
Yeah.
I the limitations that we put because of rates.
Yeah.
I will do a loan for free if it means putting somebody in the house.
Yeah.
It's like hot dogs. I always have hot dogs
Yeah.
on the fire, and sometimes I get paid and sometimes I don't, but I'm always giving away every now and then I give away free hot dogs, but I'm
Yeah.
never going to not let a loan close because I'm not getting paid. If everybody else is getting paid, my realtors especially,
Yeah.
and I'm accomplishing the task because I've been rewarded for that thought process. And I know that I'll get 5 more down the road because I
Yeah.
did something like
Because of
that.
that.
When I did it the other way, when it was about me first, and believe me, I started an industry with that concept because that's the way I was taught.
Yeah.
We would allow loans to not close. And I'm glad I learned what I did because I also learned how I did not want to do it.
Yeah.
And I went on to make changes and open my own company. And then that's kind of how this continued to develop. But we all have mentors throughout our lives. And it all starts with just somebody saying, hey, if you're going to be in this industry long enough, you might want to also learn how to do purchases, not just
Yeah.
refinance,
Yeah.
things like that. But, you know, your team has an incredible mentor, leading them. And you guys are always showing off with your pictures when you get together, but it's okay. We'll be out your way August 14th for our Boulder event, and I can't wait to see all
Excited.
you guys.
Be great.
Megan will be getting married. It's okay, but
Yeah.
we're allowed to have happy times too in
It's
our
right
lives
after her
with work.
wedding, so we all might look kind of rough. But
That literally is right after that.
yeah.
But Matt, thank you so much for your time today. Thanks for stopping your day. I know you're busy, and it takes
No,
a
I
lot to
appreciate it.
stop a top producer, but to capture you in a moment, to hear what you've accomplished, where you're going, what you're doing. People out there need mentors, and Matt Hardy is one of the best in the business. He really is. And if you need a mentor, you need to talk loans. You need to figure out why you're not getting where you want to go in this business. He'll give you a he'll give you an honest analysis of your situation. Whether you like it or not, it's up to you. But he doesn't play a lot of games because he's very serious in what he does, and he has results, and he has to be serious. He puts people in homes. He has realtors every day that count on him. So Matt, you're awesome, dude. You're one of the best 2023. I know you're going to be best of the best 2024 because it's just usually the way it works. The best of the best just keep
I'll
on
try.
rolling. But thanks
Always
for
will
the
try.
time, man. We got a couple of your friends. David's going to be on here. Tim Ray's going to be on here. There's going to be some people that like to also, I think, say that you're a mentor of theirs as much as you
Oh,
give them accolades. But great loan officers no other great loan officer.
yeah,
That's one thing I've learned over the years. But
that is true.
you are
Yeah.
you are best of the best 2023. Thank you so much for giving me some of your time today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, Matt, you take care.
Okay, you too. Thanks.